day. Welcome to Music Motors. Welcome to the 2020 Caterham 360S. Now I say 2020 because I'm filming it in 2020. The actuality of different options and things and bits and pieces that go on these cars doesn't seem to change too much over the years. But for the purposes of YouTube, this is the 2020 Caterham 360S. Now, the 360 is powered by a 2-litre Ford Duratec engine, which produces 180 brake horsepower, 194 newton meters of torque. It will propel itself to 60 miles an hour in 4.8 seconds and top out at 130 miles an hour. And it gets it really, really easily. Bottom prices on these, as in one that you have with no options, 31.5-ish. But if you decide, well, I don't want to build it and I want loads of options to make it my ultimate dream car, like this one, you'll be paying more, about £45,000. Now I say that, this has bigger alloys, a fancy colour, it has better headlights, it has a black pack, it has an SV chassis, it has a lowered floor. So to be fair, it has all the things that you could possibly want to make it the perfect daily. In this episode of Music Motors, I'm talking about the 360S, the Caterham 360S, with loads of options on it, and how it does from a miles per gallon type of car. So from the outside, Caterham hasn't really changed too much over the years. Generally it has a look which is very distinctive, it stands out. Especially this one, because this has an optional £1,000 paint colour, BMW Sunset Orange. It's an incredible looking colour, which, now I've seen it, if I was to get one, that's the colour I would choose. Up front, the bug-eyed headlights shout out, here's a Caterham, here's what everyone sees as a kit car. The side profile is unquestionably Caterham, and the back end is just that design that you've got to know. Now, Caterham over the years have started implementing little bits to start making these look a little bit more up to date. Options generally, but like you can have front headlights which are ultra bright LEDs. You can have clear lenses to ensure that no matter what, your car looks a little bit more modern. Now, by no means does it mean it's as modern as competitor, other vehicles which cost £45,000, because realistically, for that price, for that 0 to 60 time, you put it up against a Golf R and an Audi S3, but you can't. Outside, this is a car which when people see, they don't look at you and think, look at that poser showing off to the world. They think, he's crazy, but I like it. Because this is the type of car which you can drive in any weather. I spoke to an owner who said he drives it in the winter. Imagine what people see when he drives past. Driving one of these in the snow must be hilarious. People look at you and smile from ear to ear. It really is the type of car which brings smiles to not only you, but everyone you pass by. People aren't judgmental and jealous. They just love it. It's a cute little car. And this is a really standout colour. From the outside, this one also has 15-inch alloys. Obviously it's an SV, it's got a lowered floor. So for me, it's the right size in proportions, because it looks like it's usable. Oh, and there's one additional. If you want a roll bar, it's £150, but if you want leather to go around the roll bar, which it looks awesome, well, that's a £700 option. So with lockdown pretty much easing in the UK, I decided it was time to go on a bit of an adventure, a post-lockdown road trip. Finding out what's changed, what do the towns feel like, what are the roads like now they're not stupidly busy. And I thought it's a good chance to also get to grips, get friendly with the 360S on more than just local driving. Long distance driving is something that I thoroughly enjoy in all Caterhams. And so I thought I'd put the 360S through it. So this is something which is lots of imagery, but at the end you will see the summarisation of fuel economy, comfort, and what it's like as a daily.
yeah, some of the scenery is breathtaking, and when you can have the top down, it's even more breathtaking. It's almost too hot to have the top down in the UK at the moment though, although I'm sure that won't last. A little bit weird going through some of these towns where pubs are closed and shops are completely boarded up, but the roads are phenomenally quiet in comparison to how they usually are. And the 360S gives you this ultimate balance of fuel economy, 43 to the gallon combined throughout the entire run, but also gave you this thrill factor, this enjoyment, in that when you have a piece of open road, you can just put your foot down and really enjoy yourself. And that's exactly what you're able to do. The driving feel is like no other. You can't compare this to another car other than to another Caterham, because this has such a unique feel. Even though it's only 180 horsepower, because it weighs so little, it can be thoroughly stretched on the back roads, and I kind of couldn't ask for any more fun on a back road than this can give you, because anything faster will probably try and kill you. It's relatively comfortable, this being the S instead of the R, meaning that these seats aren't uncomfortable to be in, and there's no belts rubbing on your collarbones for hours on end. It's normal seat belts. This is a great looking car that gets a lot of attention on the roads, but equally is stupidly capable. And I've always said it, these are like an amazingly quirky daily, and I'll stick to that now. This is, if you want to be quirky, a perfect daily, because it's a daily like no other.
When you get inside, this is where people always say, Caterhams are too small, I can't get into them. If you get an SV with a lowered floor, you can. It's actually quite spacious, it's not cramped. If you option in these little padded bits to go on the doors, it's quite comfortable to sit here. The gear knob isn't massively destructive to your hand. You get used to the fact that it's a little bit harder to shift than a conventional car. Everything is quite literally at your fingertips as well. Everything you need to touch is there. And even though it doesn't have power steering, you don't struggle from a seating position. It is very comfortable. These seats are, well, comfy. Unlike the R, this has normal seat belts and not pointed seat belts. Doesn't have a race harness, which means that realistically on longer journeys you're quite comfortable, on top of the fact that it is a more comfortable seat. When you get up to speed, that's when you kind of start going, oh, is this as comfortable as I want it to be? And to be fair, even with the sport suspension that this has got fitted to it, it is quite comfortable. But from an interior point of view, considering that this is a more track orientated car, it's really comfortable on the road. It's really easy to do mega miles in. I've probably done about 400 or 500 miles this week in this car. Previously in other Caterhams I've put over 1,000 miles on them in a week, and I never, like, if you don't sit right, yes, you do end up having a bit of a bad back after a while. But that's the same as in any car. If you sit with bad posture, sit correctly, and these are just as comfortable as any other car on the road. Maybe not as comfortable as a Volvo like in front of me because they're a driving armchair, but you really can't complain. You have a heater to make sure that in the mornings when it's really cold, you don't get cold. And it just feels, I dare say it, spacious once you're inside. And I've had a lot of criticism where on previous reviews people have said it's not a real Caterham when it's an SV and when it has a lowered floor. I get it, I know the heritage, but I couldn't fit in one of these unless it was an SV with a lowered floor. I'm a big boy, as in I'm fat. I can't fit in small cars easily. A BMW i8 is the most ungraceful thing for me to get inside of. So the fact that I can get in this with relative ease means that the SV chassis works. Behind you, you do have a little boot. You can fit an amount of stuff in there, enough for a day trip easily, probably enough for a weekend away, and a smaller week's shop without really too much trouble. The only time that you notice this is a Caterham on a longer run is after a while. The exhaust can get a bit drony, so probably you'll want to have headphones with you, just so you can block it out a little bit. But it's a hell of a noise, so you don't really get that bored of it. Performance wise, as I said, it's a 2-litre Duratec engine, which is 180 brake horsepower, 194 newton meters of torque. It's 4.8 to 60, tops out 130. But all of that power in a car which weighs 585 kilograms. And I know I weigh a bit, but I still don't knock the 0 to 60 down that much. And when I say performance, bouncing off the rev limiter, this really is a super fun car to drive. So the gear throw is really nice, really direct, goes straight in. The throttle response is instantaneous. The torque band pulls you the whole way through, and the noise is addictive. This ends up being a car which is miles per gallon as much as miles per gallon. The turning on corners when the tyres are up to temperature and the road is warm is just second to none. This thing sticks to the road. But on public roads, because they can be quite uneven, this does track really, really hard. It does like to follow the way the road's going, but by no means is that a terrible thing, because by all means is it a totally addictive thing. Now, people often say to me, fuel economy wise, what does it get? Because it can't be that good. It's actually surprisingly good. Yeah, it might be a 2-litre petrol engine, naturally aspirated, but it weighs 585 kilograms. It's not a heavy car to move. So around town, you'll never see that much below 30. If you're really caning it, you might see 25. But on a run, you can see anywhere from 35 to 43, 45 miles to the gallon, depending what speed you're driving at, how harsh you're driving. So yeah, it gives you miles per gallon, but it also does give you miles per gallon. The driving characteristic of this is just uncomparable, because there is no power steering. But when the tyres are up to temperature and you're throwing it into corners and not being stupid about binning it halfway through a corner, as a lot of people do with these, it's great fun. But like there, I had to back off because I didn't want to scrape underneath the car, because Britain's finest tarmac was a little bit bouncy. So from the outside, the Caterham 360S looks amazing, especially in this paint colour, BMW Sunset Orange. It's incredible. It's distinctive and it makes people smile. From the inside, it's surprisingly comfortable, not luxurious, but totally usable, and has everything that you could want. Everything's at your fingertips, and you've got a socket under here to plug everything else into. The performance is usable, and this is the big thing. I've driven 270, 360, 420, not driven a 620 yet, but the 360 I find is the most usable of the bunch. The 270 is usable all year round, but at times you wish you had a bit more power. The 420 tried to kill me every time I put my foot down because it was a little damp on the road. Whereas this, when it did get a little damp on the road, limited slip diff, low an option, stuck it down, and I had no issues whatsoever. I feel like this is one you can use all year round, and I've spoken to owners who do. No matter the weather, they'll drive their Caterham day in and day out. And I can see why. Because not only is the power addictive, and trust me, the power is properly addictive. But this is just a car which makes you smile like no other. Yes, it costs as much as a Golf R and an S3. Comparable? Nah. I'd have this over one any day of the week.